The night I gave birth, rain pounded against the window like 1,000 whispered warnings. I remember gripping the edge of the hospital bed, breath breaking in half, praying that he wouldn't find me. Him, the man whose love once felt like fire, and whose rage could burn down a city. They call him Lorenzo DeLuca, the youngest mafia boss in New York, the man who owned half the city and almost all of my heart. When the nurse placed my daughter in my arms, I looked into her eyes, and my world shattered because she had his eyes. That impossible storm gray that I thought I'd never see again. I whispered, "You're safe now," but deep down I knew it was a lie. Because secrets have long shadows, and mine reached all the way back to him. 3 things I never thought would happen did. He would find me halfway across the world. He would look at the baby and say, "You're lying. This child isn't mine." And I would learn the truth about what really tore us apart, a truth darker than either of us imagined. I was 22 when I first met Lorenzo. I had come from Sarajevo chasing a job, a dream, and a way out of the life my mother warned me about. I found work as a translator for an import company, or so I thought, that company, a front for the DeLuca family's shipping empire. And Lorenzo DeLuca was its silent storm, polite, quiet, terrifying. The first time our eyes met, he said, "You have the kind of accent that makes men forget their deals." I laughed, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. Days turned into weeks. I translated contracts. He read people, and slowly, against all logic, I began to fall for him. It wasn't the money or the power. It was the way he listened when no one else did, as if he saw the war still living behind my eyes. But there was one rule in his world: never fall in love. And one night we broke it. I remember his voice in the dark. "Elena," he said, "you make me want to believe in something clean." We both knew it couldn't last. The Mafia doesn't forgive distractions, and loving me was a distraction worth killing for. A week later, everything changed. A rival family ambushed one of his shipments. Rumors spread that someone inside had leaked information. Someone close to him. I didn't know it then, but they whispered my name. When Lorenzo confronted me, his face was stone. "Tell me it wasn't you," he said. "It wasn't," I whispered. But he already decided. He turned away, muttering, "If it was love." "It's over." That night I fled with a passport, a suitcase, and a secret growing inside me. I landed in Dubai, then Mumbai, finally settling in a quiet coastal town where nobody knew my name. For months I worked in a cafe, saving every coin, hiding every fear. My belly grew, and with it, the ache of memories I couldn't erase. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw both of us, the sinner and the saint, the girl and the ghost. Then one night, a customer left a newspaper behind. On the front page, DeLuca heir survives assassination attempt. He was alive. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt the old terror return. Because if he lived, so did the past. When my daughter was born, I named her Isabella after my mother. She had his eyes, his calm stare, the same quiet fury of survival. It was past midnight when I heard it. That low rumble of tires against wet gravel. At first, I told myself it was nothing. But then came the knock. 3 short raps on the wooden door. Measured, familiar. My heart froze. That pattern! That rhythm! Lorenzo's rhythm. I held Isabella close, her small hand gripping my shirt. The knocking came again, sharper this time. "Miss Elena Petrova?" a voice said through the rain. "We need to speak with you." I looked through the peephole. 3 men stood outside in dark suits. No police badges. No smiles. I whispered to myself, it can't be him. But when I opened the door, I saw the impossible. Matteo, Lorenzo's right-hand man. Older now, but unmistakable. "Elena," he said softly. "He knows." My throat went dry. "Knows what?" "That you're alive, and that you had a child." He stepped inside before I could answer. "He thought you died in that fire 3 years ago. You were supposed to be gone." "I tried to be," I whispered. Then why are you still here? That question haunted me long after they left. The next morning, they took me and Isabella to the airport. No threats. No words. Just silence. And as the plane lifted off, I looked at my daughter sleeping beside me, unaware that her life had just changed forever. When I saw Lorenzo again, he looked different. Older, sharper. His hair shorter. His jaw lined with something heavier than anger, guilt. He stood at the edge of the tarmac, coat flapping in the wind, eyes fixed on me. For a second, time folded. And we were 22 again, laughing under Italian lights. Then his gaze dropped to the child in my arms. And his face hardened. He walked closer, every step echoing like a sentence. "Elena," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "Who is she?" I tried to speak, but my lips wouldn't move. Finally, I whispered, "Her name is Isabella." He tilted his head, studying her. Those small, curious eyes that mirrored his own. But instead of wonder, his face twisted with rage. "You're lying," he hissed. "This baby isn't mine." The words sliced through me like glass. He didn't see her eyes, not yet. I swallowed hard. "You think I'd make that up?" "I think you'd do anything to stay alive." He turned away, shouting orders to Matteo. "Run the test," he barked. "DNA, immediately." I wanted to scream, to tell him how I'd fled with nothing, how I'd carried his child through cities where his name was a curse. But I saw no mercy in his eyes. Only fear disguised as fury. Later that night, they locked me in one of his guest rooms, the same villa where we once danced barefoot after midnight. The walls hadn't changed. But we had Dot as I looked out the window. I saw his silhouette in the courtyard below, pacing, smoking, haunted. He was a man at war with himself. I didn't know it then, but Lorenzo wasn't angry because I lied. He was angry because he thought he killed me. The night I ran, Lorenzo's enemies set fire to a warehouse. He believed I was inside. And when he found my burnt passport near the wreckage, he thought his mistake had cost my life. That guilt turned into hate. And that hate turned into the empire he built from blood and revenge. Now, seeing me alive shattered the story he'd been telling himself, that he was the victim, not the villain. Roll, quick montage, Lorenzo pacing, flash of gunfire. Newspaper headlines about Mafia wars. But what neither of us knew yet was that the same people who made him believe I was dead were the ones still watching. Asterisk, the next morning, I heard footsteps outside my door. It was Matteo again. He spoke quietly, so no one else could hear. "Elena," he said, "you need to be careful. Things are not what they seem." "What do you mean?" I asked. He hesitated. "The boss was told years ago that you betrayed him. But the proof, it was planted." "Planted?" The word hit like thunder. "Who?" I whispered. Matteo looked at the ground. "I can't say yet. But you need to survive long enough to find out." And then he was gone. As I watched my daughter sleep, I realized the truth was more dangerous than the lie. If someone inside his empire framed me, then bringing me back wasn't about love or closure. It was about control. They wanted Lorenzo distracted, weak, and I was the perfect weapon. That was the night I promised myself I wouldn't just clear my name. I'd uncover who had torn us apart, and why I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like a secret trying to breathe. Downstairs, men spoke in low voices. I caught my name more than once, then a knock. "Breakfast," a maid said. But when I opened the door, she slipped a folded note beneath the tray before leaving. "Meet me by the chapel, noon, alone." My heart raced. Matteo, he waited inside. Hands clasped, eyes darting to the stained glass window. "Elena," he whispered, "listen carefully. What I'm about to tell you could get us both killed." I nodded. "It wasn't a rival family that framed you," he said. "It was someone inside ours." "Who?" He swallowed. "Lorenzo's uncle, Vittorio De Luca." The name froze the air. Vittorio, the man who taught Lorenzo everything about the business. The man he trusted more than Blood Mateo leaned closer. 3 years ago, Vittorio wanted control of the ports. Lorenzo refused. So Vittorio needed him distracted. He planted fake messages documents in your handwriting selling shipment locations to arrival. Then leaked the rumor that you ran when the ambush happened. I felt the walls tilt. All those nights I blamed myself. All those years Lorenzo hated me because of one man's greed. But why now? I asked. Matteo's jaw tightened. Because Vittorio knows you're alive. And he knows if Lorenzo sees the child's eyes, he'll believe. Matteo nodded. And when he does, Vittorio loses everything. That night, Lorenzo summoned me to his office. The test results had arrived. He sat behind the desk, papers scattered, cigarette half burned between his fingers. He didn't look at me, just stared at the DNA sheet like it was a ghost. Finally, he spoke. "She's mine." The words trembled not with joy, but disbelief. He looked up, eyes wet with anger and something softer underneath. "I wasted 3 years hating a dead woman," he said. "I never wanted you dead," I whispered. "I know that now." He stood, pacing. "They told me you betrayed me." "I saw proof." "That proof was a lie," I said. "Vittorio?" He snapped his head up. "What did you say?" "Vittorio framed me." For a moment, silence. Then laughter sharp, bitter. "My uncle," he said. "He raised me. He buried my father. And he's been burying you ever since," I said quietly. He looked at the photo, then at me. "If this is true, it means every move I made was built on a lie. Every drop of blood wasted." "Then make it mean something," I said. "Expose him." "End it." He turned to the window, smoke curling through the air. "Elena," he said softly, "I can't. You don't understand. Vittorio owns the council. The police, even half the families owe him. If I move against him, he'll wipe out everyone tied to me, especially you. But he's already coming for us," I said. He looked back. And for the first time, I saw fear. For the next 2 days, the villa turned into a fortress. No one came in or out without orders. But protection in this world is only as strong as loyalty. And loyalty, I learned, is cheap. On the 3rd night, a phone rang inside Lorenzo's office. He answered, listened, then froze. "They took Matteo," he said. My knees went weak. "How?" "Inside man. Vittorio knows we're coming." He grabbed his gun and coat. "I have to fix this. Let me help." "No." His voice cracked. "You've done enough." He meant it kindly, but it stung like a blade. Still, before he left, he touched my face gentle, trembling. "If I don't come back, tell her I tried." Hours passed. No word. Then an explosion in the distance. I ran outside. The sky glowed orange beyond the hills. My chest tightened. "Lorenzo?" Minutes later, headlights approached. One of his men staggered out of a car, blood on his shirt. "He's alive," he gasped. "They hit the convoy. He's trapped at the docks." I didn't think. I just ran. When I reached the docks, fire painted the water red. Men shouted in Italian, gunfire cracking the night. Through the smoke, I saw him, Lorenzo, bleeding but standing, shooting back, and behind him, Vittorio. The man looked calm, almost fatherly. He raised his gun at Lorenzo's back. I screamed his name. Lorenzo turned just in time to see Vittorio pull the trigger, but I was faster. I lunged, grabbing a loose metal bar and striking Vittorio's arm. The gun went off, bullet grazing my shoulder. Pain ripped through me, but I didn't stop. He fell, snarling. "You ruined everything," he shouted. I saved him. I spat. Before I could move again, Lorenzo was there. He looked from me to Vittorio, realization dawning. "It was you," he whispered. Vittorio laughed, even bleeding. "You think you're better than me? Without me, you're nothing." Lorenzo's gun shook in his hand. For a heartbeat, I saw the boy who once dreamed of getting out. Then the boss returned. One shot. Clean. Final. The police sirens drew closer. Lorenzo turned to me. You shouldn't have come, he said. You'd have done the same, I whispered. He smiled sadly. Maybe that's why we're cursed. He helped me into the car, but before we could drive off, headlights cut us off. Black SUVs? Not cops, Vittorio's backup. Go! He shouted. Get Isabella. Run! I shook my head. I'm not leaving you again. Elena! He grabbed my face. Please. It was the last word he ever said to me, when the world came back. I was in a hospital bed again. My shoulder wrapped in bandages. Matteo sitting beside me, alive but bruised. Where's Lorenzo? I asked. He looked away. He didn't make it. But he saved you. And the child. The room spun. I reached for the necklace around my neck, his gift from years ago. The silver was warm, like it remembered him. Matteo handed me an envelope. Inside, a note in Lorenzo's handwriting. If you're reading this, it means the truth finally won. Don't waste it. Razor far from this world. Let our eyes be my apology. I pressed the paper to my heart and cried. Until the sun rose, but even oceans can't drown the past. A year later, I received a message with no sender. We know who she is. And that's when I realized Lorenzo's war wasn't over. It had simply changed hands. I remember the night when everything changed. The night that ripped away the last piece of my innocence. He had returned to the city after 3 months of silence. 3 months where I thought he was dead or worse. That I had been nothing to him but another story buried in his empire of lies. But then he called. His voice came through my cracked old phone, cold and sharp like the edge of a blade. Mira, he said. Don't hang up. We need to talk. My hand shook. My heart betrayed me. It still raced for him. I agreed to meet, though every part of me screamed not to. When I entered the room, he was sitting there, the same leather jacket, same scent of danger and smoke. But something had changed. His eyes looked heavier, like he had seen something that crushed even him. You disappeared, I said, my voice trembling. You made me, he answered. We stood there, oceans apart in a single room. Then he saw the child, my little girl, asleep in the stroller, and the world froze. He stared at her, then at me. His face hardened. You're lying. This baby isn't mine. My breath caught. I had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times, but I never imagined it would hurt this much. She is, I whispered. Look at her eyes. He did. And for a moment, just a flicker, I saw the fear. The realization. The recognition of something that could not be denied. Because those eyes. Or as he turned away, fist clenching. You're doing this to trap me, he growled. To make me weak. Weak? I stepped closer. You think love makes you weak? You built your world on fear. On money. On power. But this, I pointed at our daughter, this is real. He didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the window, watching the city lights like they could save him from his own reflection. That's when I noticed the bruise on his jaw. And the bandage under his sleeve. He was hiding something. You're hurt, I said softly. You shouldn't have called me back, he whispered. They'll find out. Who? He turned, his voice lower, urgent. The family. They think you're gone. If they see her, if they know what she is, they'll come for both of you. My stomach dropped. Then why did you come back? Because, he said, eyes burning into mine, I couldn't stop thinking about you. That was the first time I saw the man behind the mask, the boy who once promised me a world without violence. And yet, I knew it was too late. He told me the truth that night, or at least part of it. He had tried to leave the Mafia. He had met with someone, a government contact, to cut a deal for freedom. But it went wrong. Someone talked. His own men betrayed him. Now both sides wanted him dead. I thought I could start over, he said. But I brought hell with me. I looked at him, and despite the fear, the anger, the years of lies, I still loved him. That was my curse. You can still walk away, I said. You can still be free. He smiled, the kind of smile that breaks you. There's no freedom for men like me. And that's when he kissed me, desperate. Final, like a drowning man reaching for air. I didn't know it then, but that kiss would be the last moment of peace we'd ever have. Because an hour later, the window shattered. Gunfire, screams, a black SUV outside. They had found us. He grabbed the gun under the table. Returning fire, go. He yelled, take her and run. I'm not leaving you. Myra, please. I saw it, a man torn between his two worlds. One made of bullets, one made of love. And for the first time, he chose love. He shielded us as we escaped through the back door, blood running down his arm. By the time I turned back, he was gone. Just the sound of sirens in the distance. And the echo of his voice saying my name for the last time. I didn't sleep for 3 nights after that. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his blood on my hands, the way he looked at me right before he disappeared. I told myself he was alive. He had to be, but deep down, something in me knew still I couldn't cry. Not yet. Because someone was watching. It started with a note. No name. No address. Just a single line slid under my door. You don't know who he really was. At first, I thought it was a cruel prank. But then the next night, I found a black car parked outside the building. The same model his enemies used, tinted windows, no license plate. That's when I realized the war he tried to escape had followed me. I moved from city to city, changed my number, my name, but the notes kept coming. He lied to you. She's not safe. Look deeper. Each one drove me closer to the truth and to madness. One night, in a small town outside Naples, I found what I was never meant to see. An envelope. Hidden inside the lining of the stroller he'd given me before he vanished. Inside were photographs. Dozens of them. Some of me. Some of him. Some of us together, but others were worse. Men I didn't recognize. Meetings at docks, weapons, cash, and one photo that made my hands go cold. A picture of me standing outside my apartment before the attack. Circled in red ink. There was only one person who could have taken that photo. Him. He was tracking me, I whispered, staring at the evidence that the man I loved might have been my greatest danger. But why? That question haunted me until I decided to face it, no matter the risk. I went back to New York, the city that held both our memories and our ghost. It was there I found him. Alive. He looked older, thinner, more dangerous. When he saw me, he froze. Shock, guilt, relief. All in one look. You shouldn't be here, he said. You're alive, I breathed. They said you were dead. I almost was. He told me the truth then, or what was left of it. The men who attacked us weren't just his enemies. They were his own family. The betrayal came from within. Someone close. Someone who knew about me and the child. Who? I demanded. He hesitated, then said her name. Elena? I froze. Elena was my friend. My only friend. The one who held my hand when I was scared, who brought food when I had nothing, who said she'd help me disappear. You're lying, I whispered. No, he said. She worked for them. She told them where you were. My knees went weak. He reached out, trying to steady me. She didn't know they'd attack. She thought they'd only scare you. And you? I asked, what did you think? I thought I could save you. But he didn't, and now, no one could change what had already been done. At night, he took me to a warehouse, his last safe place. He showed me a board covered with photos. Maps, notes, everything he'd uncovered. At the center was a single headline from an old newspaper. Underboss found dead after secret deal with federal agents. He pointed to it. That's the day I vanished. The deal was supposed to get me out. Elena sold it to my family. Why show me this now? Because they'll come again. And this time, they won't stop with me. I wanted to hate him. I wanted to scream, to make him feel every ounce of pain I carried. But when he looked at our daughter for the first time without denial, without pride, I saw the truth. He wasn't the villain of my story. He was the broken part I still couldn't let go of. Take her, he said. Leave tonight. I'll stay behind. No, I said. Not again. Myra, listen. If I go down, they'll let you live. It's the only way. I wanted to believe him. But love had made me blind once, and I wasn't going to let it happen again, so I followed him that night, and what I saw changed everything I thought I knew. He wasn't there to surrender. He was there to make a deal with them, the same people who tried to kill us. If I give you the files, I heard him say, you'll leave her out of this. You're in no position to bargain, one of them replied. And then, gunfire, he fell, clutching his side. The men drove off. I ran to him, my tears mixing with the blood on his shirt. Why? I sobbed. Why make a deal with them? Because... He gasped, his hand trembling. It's the only way you live. You don't get to decide that. He smiled weakly. I already did. His phone slipped from his hand. On the screen, a message draft. It read, tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I love her. Tell her to run. And that was the moment I realized he never stopped loving us. He just didn't know how to love without. Destroying everything in his path, he survived that. Night, barely. But something in him died. The part that still believed in redemption, as I watched him disappear into the dark once more. I knew what had to come next. If I wanted to save our daughter, I had to end this myself, and that meant confronting the last person standing between us and freedom, Elena. I found her 3 nights later. Elena, the woman who once promised to be my sister. My confidant, my only light in that dark world. She was sitting alone inside an old chapel, the kind people forget exists, where candles still burn even when no one prays. When she saw me, she didn't flinch. She just smiled like she'd been waiting for me all along. You look tired, she said softly. I've been running, I replied. Because of you. Because of me? She tilted her head. Or because of the choices you made. Her calmness chilled me more than any threat. You told them where I was, I said. Because of you, they came. Because of you, he almost died. He was going to die anyway, she whispered. You just made it slower. My hands trembled. Why? She finally looked up at me, eyes wet but steady. Because I loved him too. He told me he loved you, she continued. But before you, it was me. I stood beside him when no one else dared to. And then you came with your soft voice and your dreams of a normal life. She laughed bitterly. Do you know what it's like to watch a man choose innocence over loyalty? To watch him fall for someone who doesn't even know what he's capable of. I stepped closer. You betrayed me because he loved me. No, she said. I betrayed you because he loved you more. For a moment, there was only silence, broken only by the rain beating on the church roof. Then she reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. He didn't tell you everything, she said. You think he came back for love? He came back for this. I unfolded the paper, and my world shattered again. It was a birth certificate. Not for my daughter, but for another child, a boy, born a year before mine, and the father's. Name was his. I stared at Elena in disbelief. You're lying. Am I? She said. He hid him from you. From everyone. The boy was taken a price for his betrayal. And I tried to help him get him back. Then why sell him out? Because he wouldn't let me help anymore. He said he'd found something worth dying for you. Tears blurred my vision. My heart felt like it was splitting in two, grief for the man I lost, rage for the truth he hid, and sorrow for the woman who destroyed us both. Where is the boy now? I asked. She hesitated. Then whispered, gone. The family took him. And if you keep digging, they'll take yours too. For the first time, Elena's composure broke. She began to cry, silent, shaking sobs that made me almost pity her. Almost. You helped them destroy everything, I said. I did what I thought I had to, she replied. We were all just trying to survive him. No, I said quietly. We were all trying to survive love. Myra, it began. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. I kept too many secrets, hurt too many people. But I need you to know, I never lied about her. Our daughter is my only truth. I tried to keep her safe the only way I knew how, by keeping you far from me. Elena didn't betray you. She betrayed me, because I made her believe I could love two people at once. The boy she told you about, he was my brother's son. I claimed him as my own to protect him, but it cost me everything. Don't look for me. Don't come back, live. The letter ended with his name. Just that, no apology. No goodbye, Dot, and in that moment I finally understood the curse of loving a man like him. You never get closure. Only consequences. I buried the letter in the ruins and walked away. Not because I forgave him, but because I couldn't carry his ghosts anymore. Still, I couldn't help looking back one last time. Through the smoke, I could almost see him standing there, watching you leave, like a memory refusing to die. You might think my story ends in pain, and maybe it does. But pain, I've learned, isn't the end. It's a teacher, a cruel one, but the only one that stays when you love someone like him. You don't just fall in love with a person, you fall into a world, one made of danger, silence, and the unspoken rule that love can never outweigh loyalty. For years I believed I could fix him. That love was enough to save a man built from fire and secrets, but love doesn't cure darkness. Sometimes it only makes it harder to see. People ask me, if you knew how it would end, would you still have loved him? And my answer is yes, because for a moment he made me feel alive. For a moment I believed in something stronger than fear. But here's what I didn't understand then. When you give your heart to someone who's at war with themselves, you end up fighting battles that were never yours. I spent years looking over my shoulder, wondering when his past would catch up to us. It never really did. Not in the way I feared. Instead, it lives here inside me. Every time I see our daughter's eyes, I see his too. The same steel gray color, the same unbreakable will. And it reminds me that love doesn't always die when people do. Sometimes it just changes shape into memory, into guilt, into strength. I often think about the choices we make when we're in love. How we confuse danger for passion. How we call obsession devotion. How we mistake pain for proof that something is real. But if there's one thing I've learned, real love doesn't demand your silence. It doesn't make you run. It doesn't hide behind gunfire and guilt. It gives you peace. And peace was something he could never give me because he never had it himself. In time. I learned something else too. Something most people never see when they're inside the storm. The Mafia wasn't just his world. It was a reflection of everything wrong with how we think about love, power, control, fear, possession. He didn't know how to love freely because his whole life had been about survival. And I mistook survival for connection. We weren't soulmates. We were mirror images, both broken, both searching for something safe in a world that punished weakness. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if he had walked away sooner, if he had chosen peace instead of revenge, if I had chosen myself instead of chasing a ghost. But maybe that's what every tragic love story really is, a series of if-onlys that echo long after the final goodbye. Now, when people hear my story, they always ask, do you hate him? And I tell them the truth. No. Because hate is still a form of love, twisted, hungry, unfinished. And I'm done feeding it. I don't hate him. I mourn him, the man he could have been, the life we almost had, the peace we never found. It took me 3 years to open the last letter he left. 3 years of fear, of denial, of pretending that moving on meant forgetting. But when I finally tore it open, the world went quiet. His words were simple. No apologies, no excuses. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. Don't tell her who I was until she's ready. Tell her I loved her enough to let her go. And there at the bottom of the page was a photo, me, him, and our daughter. He had kept it, carried it through every storm. He had known she was his all along. All this time, I thought he doubted me. I thought his pride was stronger than his heart, but now I see his silence was his protection. His distance was his sacrifice. He had enemies watching every move. If he had claimed her publicly, they would have come for us. So he chose the only way he knew, to make me hate him enough to disappear. I sat there for hours, the letter shaking in my hands, realizing the truth. He didn't abandon us. He saved us. Love doesn't always look like forever. Sometimes it looks like letting go before the bullets find your door. Mama, why are you crying? Because I finally understand something, sweetheart. What? That your papa wasn't the monster I thought he was. She smiles. Innocent, I already know, Mama. He talks to me in my dreams. Mira gasped softly. Half smile, half sob. In that moment, I realized he never really left. Not in the way death takes people away. Some loves echo forever through blood, through memory, through the small heartbeat of a child. Now, every morning when I wake up, I whisper his name into the silence, not to mourn him, but to thank him for teaching me what love can cost and what it can create.